You've heard the productivity advice, you've read the books, maybe you even tried the cold shower thing. Well, this video is not that. What I want to talk about are 3 actual cognitive habits. Stuff researchers have found in brain scans and controlled studies. Stuff that keeps showing up in people who consistently perform at a higher level. So I'm not going to be talking about a morning routine. I'm not going to be talking about mindset stuff. I'm going to be using real neuroscience to help you and myself perform at a higher level. Let's get into it. Here are 3 mental habits that high performers use every single day. Habit number 1, they let their minds wander. And I know that sounds wrong, but hear me out. We are obsessed with focus, deep work, 2-hour blocks, phone in another room, and that stuff genuinely works. I've made videos about them before, but there's a completely separate system inside of your brain that most people are basically ignoring. It's responsible for something focus literally cannot do. It's called the default mode network, the DMN. It gets activated when you stop concentrating, when you are in the shower, on a walk, or just staring out the window. In 2001, a guy called Marcus at Washington University published a paper showing that DMN is extremely active during rest. It was more active in some areas than during focused tasks. So it was the brain switching into a completely different operating mode. So what does the brain do in that mode? Well, researchers have linked it to something called autobiographical planning, which is basically connecting your past experiences to future scenarios. That thing when you're zoned out and suddenly you realize how 2 random ideas connect, well, that is DMN. High performers tend to be really good at switching between those modes, between focused work, then genuine mental rest, and then back to focused work. Not just grinding all the time. They actually work in cycles. A 2012 study found people who are always consuming and never just sitting quietly showed measurably lower DMN activity over time. So they neurologically became less creative. So habit number 1 is not about working less. It's about protecting real quiet time. You have to have time in your life where you are not listening to podcasts, not scrolling. That gives your brain the capacity to do its thing. Habit number 2, high performers see stress in a different way. If you ask people what successful people do about stress, you get answers like meditation, breath work, going on long runs, sleeping. And all of that is fine, but the research points to something more interesting. In 2013, at Stanford, they ran a study. There were 388 employees at a financial firm, and it was right after the 2008 crash. So it was not exactly a relaxing, chill working environment. Half of the employees watched short videos, and those videos were saying that stress is harmful, stress destroys your health, and it wrecks your performance, it shortens your life. So they basically saw videos saying that stress is terrible. The other half of the employees watched videos saying that stress is actually enhancing. The video said that it sharpens your focus and gives you energy and helps you grow as a human being. The fascinating thing is that 1 week later, that group that saw stress as something enhancing had better performance reviews. They had higher well-being scores and fewer health symptoms. So they had the same jobs as their colleagues, the same workload, the same amount of stress, but they just saw it in a different way. And this actually matters on a biological level. When you see something threatening, it could be a lion, but it can also be something like stress. Your body leans heavily on cortisol, and high levels of cortisol all the time, it's not good. But when you read something threatening as a challenge, if you view stress as an opportunity to grow, something completely else happens. You produce more DHEA, which is associated with neuroplasticity and stress resilience. So you have the same nervous system, but you get totally different outputs depending on how you reframe the situation. So high performers don't have less stress. If anything, they probably have more stress, but pressure becomes a signal. It means that something matters. It means that they are in the right situation. I'm not trying to give you toxic positivity advice. That is just how biology actually works. Habit number 3, they talk to themselves in third person. And actually it explains something that I've always found interesting. about elite athletes and high-level executives. The ability to detach themselves and observe their own performance. Ethan Kross at University of Michigan has spent years studying what he calls self-distancing. What he found was that when you refer to yourself by name or use he or she instead of I, when you are thinking about a stressful situation, your brain's emotional regulation circuit engage in different way. Athletes do this by watching their own games. Executives do this by journaling. Writers do this when they are looking at their drafts. So anybody can do it. You can start doing it right now. If you like this video about high performance, I'm pretty sure you're gonna like this one as well. That was everything. Subscribe.